everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is 10 to Life, where we talk everything true crime. So if you're brand new and stopping by for the first time and you've never checked out this channel and you like it, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so that you get notified of new case videos as I upload them. And for all of you returning subscribers, 10 to Lifers, best friends, family, welcome back. So happy to have you guys here with me today. The case we're talking about today is one that you guys have been requesting for quite some time because a lot of people have, I guess, been reporting on it, but the facts that have been reported aren't necessarily facts. There is just so much speculation in this case. And so for newcomers and for people who have been following along with this case, I guess it's been challenging to really keep things straight as far as what's factual and what's not, because again, there are just so many theories out there and, deep threads on Reddit about all of this. And so everybody's been kind of requesting, can you take a look at this? Can you let me know what you think? So I did take a look at it, and it is a pretty complex case. There is a lot of circumstantial evidence. There's a lot of questions. I don't know, guys. So we're going to talk about it all because I'm very interested to hear what you guys have heard about this case and what you think about this case. So Texas student Jason Landry was just 21 years old when he went missing on Sunday, December 13th, 2020. He had set out on a 165-mile drive from San Marcos to head east to his parents' home in Houston. He was planning on going home for the holidays and hit the road. But this Texas college student completely vanished while driving back to spend Christmas with his family. And then later, his crashed car was found in a ditch on the side of the road. Also, belongings found scattered away from his car. But what happened? And was this an horrible accident gone wrong? Could it have been foul play that he was met with? A lot of information to unload here, guys. So let's jump right in.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
On Sunday, December 13th, the 21-year-old student Jason was making his way on a 2.5-hour drive from San Marcos to Houston to visit his family for the holiday break. It's believed that Jason was actually on the wrong road and that somehow he ended up on Salt Flat Road, which parallels Highway 86, which is the road and the route that he should have taken. His car was then found by a first responder, and it was in a ditch near the side of the road. The car got off the road, spun around on the gravel, and the back driver's side trunk bumper and the side of the car took what was most of the impact as it then went into this ditch. Jason's phone, his wallet, and other personal items were found inside the car, along with a small amount of blood. There also was reportedly a small amount of marijuana that was found in his backpack when they found all of his belongings. And some of Jason's clothes were also found, but they were found outside of the vehicle, and they were left in somewhat of a trail pattern. So police officers called Jason's parents at 2 a.m. and woke them up to give them this news. The heartbreaking news of not only that they found their son's vehicle abandoned and clearly in an accident in a ditch on the side of the road, but also, what's worse, that the news of their son, Jason, being nowhere near this vehicle and nowhere to be found. Jason was apparently an avid user of the navigation app Waze, and family members say that they think that there must have been a malfunction in that app that caused the rerouting of the system and taking Jason onto that wrong road. They think that this is what caused him to be really led off track, but what's interesting is that it was later confirmed that Jason actually manually turned off his Waze app at some point in his journey back to his parents' house. So could he have been meeting up with somebody perhaps off path and then was planning to restart the Waze journey once he departed from that meetup? Jason's father, Kent, said that he doesn't know why his son was down this road, and his best guess is that his son will follow Waze wherever it sends him, no matter what the route is, and that he was coming home from college, but he was here on this road, and that his dad didn't know if he was trying to possibly avoid a deer or something else in the road and possibly then swerved, hit some trees on the side, and then landed in this ditch. The initial search for Jason lasted 9 days, and 2 different search teams, the Texas Search and Rescue and Texas EquiSearch, searched the surrounding area of this ditch where his car ultimately was found. Scent dogs also had tracked to a pond, and the search team drained the pond completely, but there was still no sign of Jason anywhere. Searchers and law enforcement investigators utilized multiple resources in this search. They were doing everything they could to find Jason. And in this search, they included resources such as helicopters with infrared cameras, drones, searchers on foot, on ATVs, on horseback even, scent dogs. They were using everything they could. And these same tracking dogs also reportedly followed a scent that indicated Jason was walking towards a different town, a town of Luling, and then the scent trail stopped cold. And this was about a quarter mile from the crash site. So when I heard this, my immediate thought was, okay, he got in this accident, he gets out of the vehicle alive, luckily, and then starts trying to walk to a town to get help, if he's injured perhaps. But the fact that he had a trail of clothing seems concerning, because if you're trying to get help or if you're injured, why are you leaving clothing behind, especially in the dead of winter when it's freezing cold outside and it's late at night?
Now in the search for another missing college student, this one from Missouri City. Caldwell County Sheriff's investigators say Jason Landry's digital footprint ended at an intersection in Luling, Texas, that's just outside of San Marcos. This was about an hour before his crashed car was found at a different location in the city. Investigators are now trying to find out what happened during that time period. Landry hasn't been seen since December 13th. He was reportedly driving back home to Missouri City from San Marcos.
Shortly after this 9-day initial search, Texas EquiSearch announced that it was suspending its search efforts for Jason, but that they could resume once law enforcement had determined a more specific area to which they could then conduct this search. Because at this point, they were casting such a wide net, they were using so many resources, and nothing was turning up. And so they said, we can't keep doing this until you have a more specific area that we can search. There's not much we can do. And a spokesperson said, "We will not speculate on what may have happened to Jason, but we do feel that the vast area surrounding the accident scene has been thoroughly searched, and Jason still hasn't been found. So as a result, this is why we are suspending our search operation for Jason until law enforcement investigators obtain credible and sufficient information that would then lead our team to a more specific area to search." A couple of weeks after Jason's disappearance, investigators released more details about his possible route home, and they released this from using his cell phone data. His cell phone data showed that he left his apartment in San Marcos at 10:55 p.m. on December 13th for his journey home. Now here's a timeline of where his cell phone data tracked him according to what was released by the sheriff's office. While on the road at 11:05 p.m., Jason drives his car onto Highway 80. He passes under the I-35 in San Marcos and then continues south. A couple of minutes later, at 11:07 p.m., he enters Caldwell County. And then for quite a few minutes, he continues on Highway 80. Then at 11:17 p.m., he travels through Fentress, Texas, and enters Prairie Lee, Texas 2 minutes later. Then he enters Stairtown, Texas. So this really just kind of shows his journey as he's coming across. But then this is where it all starts to come to a head. At 11:24 p.m., he enters that city of Luling on the Highway 80, and he goes through an intersection on Hackberry Street. But then Jason stops using Waze. He shuts down the app and he opens Snapchat. Then he continues down on Austin Street, which is what Highway 80 turns into. And then he hits an intersection. And so it's believed that he went through that intersection and then continued on East Austin Street. It's at this intersection that it's assumed the incident takes place, and then Jason's digital footprint stops abruptly. So when we're looking through this, for me, a key piece of information that stood out here is when he turned off his Waze app. And the first thing he did when he turned off his Waze app was open Snapchat. It's my belief that he was planning to meet up with somebody, and that he was planning to meet up with somebody from Snapchat. And we're going to talk about more of what was found at the site and some other evidence, so I don't want to get too much off, on conspiracy theories or what my personal opinion is here, but I had to mention that that's what stuck out in my mind, that he turned off Waze and went to Snapchat immediately, almost as though he didn't need directions any longer. And then he went to Snapchat to tell somebody, hey, I'm here, or I'm at the spot. And then, unfortunately, the incident takes place. So now going back to that discovery of his personal belongings near his vehicle, there was that small amount of marijuana that was found in his backpack. And if Jason had used some and smoked some marijuana prior to getting in the car that evening, which is not only suggested, but testified to later, and we'll get there, that means that he may have been high and impaired at the time of his accident, and the accident may have been caused by his impairment. Another additional detail that I saw that had surfaced, but I'm not 100% sure if it has been confirmed, was that at the end of that trail of his clothing, a quarter mile down the road, he had put down his pet fish that was in a bowl on the road, very gently, just sitting there. So this led me to suspect that maybe he had a possible head injury in the accident, then began walking for help, and not only walking to help himself, but also trying to possibly rescue his pet and then carefully putting it down. Roughly 10 months after the disappearance, in October 2021, new search images were released. Now at that point, there had been 6 searches conducted, spanning across 31,000 acres, all of which yielded no results in finding Jason. Though through all of these searches, researchers named 86 points of interest.
Family and a community are still waiting for answers after Texas State University student Jason Landry disappeared 10 months ago. Police say the 21-year-old went missing in December after crashing his car on his way home to Missouri City, Texas. That car was found abandoned with his keys still in the ignition, and his father will not stop until he finds his son. News Nation correspondent Marky Martin is joining us tonight, live with a preview of her story. Marky.
Yeah, good evening, Marnie. This is truly one of those mysteries that we may never have all the answers to. And that's exactly why we do these Missing in America segments, to shed light on cases that need explaining. But you're right, Jason went missing last Christmas. He leaves school to drive home for the holidays, and he never makes it there. In fact, authorities found his car in the middle of nowhere. Just wait till you see this story, so far off the main highway, but absolutely no sign of Jason. And here in the past couple weeks, we have spent ample time with his parents. We went out with a search party that went out once again with drones, with people, horses, canine units, just to find any shred of evidence that they could. And specifically, we've spent a lot of time with Jason's father, Kent Landry, and we went walking down that very road where his son went missing from.
So I got here early. It was like 5 in the morning, and there's no one out. There's no police officers looking because the police officer had gone to bed.
And are you like, where are the crews? I mean,
It was very weird because I was expecting to come to, I've been to plenty of crime scenes, and I was expecting police and searchers, and there was no one.
The thing as a parent, you visualize your child walking down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, not knowing anyone, looking for help. And that's the part that hurts. Yeah. So that stays with you.
In January 2022, Caldwell County Sheriff Office released new evidence in this case. Evidence, though, that Jason's family was not made aware of. Captain Jeff Ferry of the Caldwell Sheriff's Department spent countless hours analyzing a call log, more than an hour of body cam footage from responding law enforcement when they found his car, and a screen-recorded FaceTime call with Jason and his friend. And these are just a few pieces among the items that were newly released in evidence and that the sheriff had analyzed.
New tonight, we're getting a look at newly released videos and evidence in the case of missing Texas State student Jason Landry.
The 21-year-old disappeared in December of 2020 while heading home to Missouri City from San Marcos for winter break. Our Matt Doherty has been going through the hours of video evidence that was released today. Matt.
The case has garnered international attention. After more than a year of searching, investigators are now releasing the bulk of the case. However, they're still calling it a mystery.
I just come up on a vehicle that's in a ditch.
For the first time, we're hearing the minutes when the mystery began. A volunteer firefighter calls 911 after spotting a wrecked car off a remote dirt road.
Did you find the driver?
I have not. I went up and down Salt Flat.
Body camera video shows when the state trooper arrives about an hour later.
Left the keys in there and it's all locked up.
The underwear's got some blood on it, and I didn't see him anywhere.
Probably some college kid.
That's what I was thinking.
In the backpack is a wallet containing the driver's license of 21-year-old Jason Landry.
Hello?
Yes, good morning, Mrs. Landry.
The trooper makes the call that no parent ever wants to get.
I suspect Jason may have been driving this vehicle. However, we're working on trying to locate him, and I fear that he may be on some type of, substance. The reason being is because I did find some narcotics in his backpack.
As Jason's car was getting towed, his father was on his way from Houston. The videos Pastor Kent Landry took as the sun was rising are included in the files released by the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office today.
And this is his flip-flops.
We spoke with Landry about the status of the investigation and the case details that were released.
It seems to me that they're saying, well, this is just a stupid college kid who does stupid college kid stuff. Like what? He doesn't need to be found? We don't have to work hard to find him? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
In the findings from the sheriff's office are some of the videos, messages, and Snapchats Jason shared with his friends the night he disappeared.
Now that investigators have gained access to most of Jason's phone and computer data, they're revealing even more information about the moments leading up to his disappearance. And that call log shows FaceTime and voice calls that Jason made before the accident and calls that he received after his disappearance. Jason had gone on FaceTime with one of his friends that he was going to hang out with ahead of that trip. The sheriff said that Jason's friend screen recorded this FaceTime because, in his words, he was planning on meeting Jason later that evening and thought, man, Jason is so high right now, he's not going to remember what he's saying. So he wanted to screen record him to, I guess, show him later or maybe give him a hard time later, being like, man, look what we were talking about earlier. Who knows? But he did screen record that conversation. And in the video, Jason is seen rolling the joints that officials later say that state trooper had recovered from his backpack at the scene of the accident. The FaceTime video, however, does not have audio. So the sheriff says that officials are forced to only rely on what Jason's friend says his recollection is of their conversation. And what he says is that they were apparently talking about spiritual awakening and enlightenment and opening Jason's third eye and drug consumption. Now, this could also be why the friend screen recorded this FaceTime, because perhaps it wasn't a topic that they discussed regularly, and maybe he thought that, Jason's super high right now. He's talking about spiritual awakenings. He's talking about his third eye opening. I've got to show him this later. And according to the conversation, the sheriff says it's consistent with Jason's internet activity as well in the minutes leading up to his disappearance. And he says that Jason was Googling things like, how long can you live in the woods without food? And how long can you go in the wilderness? He was also looking up spiritual enlightenment and practices of spiritual enlightenment, in addition to looking up different strains of marijuana and different ways to combine the strains. He was looking up all of these things in addition to talking about psychedelics with his friend and how they had impacted his life and his perception of spiritual awakening. So the sheriff says that looking at Jason's digital footprint, that he doesn't believe anything nefarious happened to Jason. And he says that searches have completely come up dry, so that the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office hopes these newly released photos, phone calls, footage, and all of this other new data will generate new interest and leads in this case. According to the police department, all signs point to them that Jason was in fact under the influence and that he wasn't going to get into that car and try to navigate his way to Missouri City to see his parents because his parents were not expecting him. And the sheriff's office says he wasn't due home and that he was actually going to hang out with buddies, play video games, and get high.
When we look at the totality of things, it really paints a picture on almost a crisis, an internal crisis that Jason's dealing with. And so, yeah, it absolutely is relevant in my opinion.
He thinks there's absolutely zero evidence of anything other than Jason wandered off and we haven't found his body. After over a year, shouldn't you at least consider other possibilities?
We have to go in the direction the evidence takes us, whether we like it or not. No doubt, again, this is a tragedy, but it's not a crime.
So because of all of this, the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office has ended its investigation. Captain Jeff Ferry said that there was no evidence that a crime took place. And he says that he thinks Jason, again, was just under the influence, took a wrong turn, and then crashed. After that, he believes that Jason stripped off his clothes for whatever reason and started walking in the near freezing temperatures. Then in this part, and it's a bit brutal to be quite honest, and personally I feel like it could have been communicated in a better way and a bit differently, but the sheriff says he thinks that he died and was devoured by wild hogs. And then the sheriff also says, and I quote, "I don't think the hogs are what killed him, but hogs are opportunistic. If a hog encounters a meal, especially in December, I don't think he's going to pass it up." Again, possibly the truth, but I do think that that statement, especially being made in such a public way, could have been done with a little more tact and bedside manner for his family. To me, it just seems a little brutal and kind of in your face. I just didn't like it. So initially, Jason's father, Kent Landry, who is also a pastor at the church, said that he is living his worst dream as a parent, stating that he still doesn't know where his son is and he can't tell you how hard that is, and that he prays his son is alive and prays that someone out there is taking care of him. But this was a sentiment that would soon shift from hope to possibly mourning, because his father, Kent, later said, "We know he got out of the crash okay, and he was walking back this way." And that's the last thing that we know for sure. He says, "I have images in my mind of my son hurting, walking away from this car accident, walking down a dark and lonely road looking for help. And I'm not there. I'm not there to help him." But he says, "But I do know who is there, no matter what. I know God was with my son and that God is with my son. We have so many questions and no answers. I know that my son will spend eternity in heaven with me. I pray that he is not there yet because I should go there before him." A truly heartbreaking statement to make as a parent. To this day, Jason still has not been found, and there are a lot of theories out there about what may have happened to him. But at the end of the day, there are only a couple of options that are truly viable and, in my opinion, may have realistically happened. If Jason was in fact intoxicated or impaired, as the police are so adamantly suggesting, it's possible that he truly was impaired and did get in an accident on his own. From there, possibly having been under the influence and perhaps a head injury from the accident, maybe Jason did wander off trying to find help, and unfortunately, he may not have survived out there on his own and at those temperatures. And like the sheriff suggested, maybe animals, specifically hogs, did get to him. Or perhaps this was something that was going down more of a dark path, and perhaps it was foul play. Maybe when he turned Snapchat on and had turned Waze off, maybe he was meeting somebody to either do drugs or to buy more drugs from, or just meeting somebody in general, and perhaps that meeting went awry and something happened from there. Or lastly, I believe that the third viable option here would be that, again, while possibly driving impaired, Jason got into an accident, got out of the vehicle, tried to get help, but somebody encountered him along the way, who then decided to take matters into their own hands and Jason's life into their own hands. And that perhaps maybe that's why Jason hasn't been found yet. Not only not found alive, but also his remains have not been found. Not a single shred of them. But I'm curious to know what you guys think and what may have happened to him and what really is going on in this case. Because again, there still has been no body found, no remains found. And it has now been well over a year. No remains, no other shreds of evidence that we know of, and we only have this little information to really go on. So what do you think about this case? And what are your theories? What have you heard about this case? Leave them in the comments below, because I'm really interested to hear from you guys. Hopefully Jason's family, one way or another, gets answers soon and gets whatever closure, peace, or miracle that is out there. Because I can't even imagine what that constant worry, confusion, and wondering must feel like. And the ache that you must feel as a parent not knowing where your child is, whether they are alive or dead. It's just the unimaginable. Thanks for taking the time to listen with me today, guys. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the case coverage. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and please also give this video a thumbs up on your way out to show support for the channel. And share this link where you can. Let's spread the word and hopefully get answers out there for Jason's family as to where he is, what may have happened, and anything else that we can learn. The more we share this and the more we spread awareness and spread the word on Jason's case and his story, the more likely tips will come in and the more likely a resolution will take place. Thanks again, guys. Until the next case, stay safe. Bye.